there, welcome to Bricolage, the Joy of Clutter, episode 3. In the last episode, I showed you the first floor of my house, and before we go upstairs over the garage, I got to thinking that we need a system. Well, at least I need a system, because whenever I'm approaching a complex task, I will put it off if I don't have a way to deal with it, and I will just procrastinate and it'll never get done. So I got to thinking that because minimalism doesn't work for me, and it never will, that I can't accept these kind of binaries in terms of thinking about things, either keeping them or not keeping them. I need to have a way to make that decision that resonates with me personally. So being kind of nerdy, I decided to come up with a taxonomy, which is a term that comes from biology primarily. So, for example, you could have a taxonomy of a certain type of a mammal, for example. You may have seen pictures like this. And I thought that I could apply the same type of thinking to my home and also to apply some like quadrant type thinking from consulting in the business world. Let me show you what I've come up with so far. And here it is, very much a work in progress, scribbled on my big white teaching board. We'll start off with the first of these 5 categories, which I do expect may change as I use my own house as kind of a guinea pig for this way of thinking. Category number 1 is 21st century stuff. Everything you need to sleep, eat, communicate, bathe, clean, and generally live. That would include things like your appliances, all your personal care and health items, sleep stuff, phones, computers, tablets, chargers, that type of thing, furniture and lights, all your kitchen items, storage, hooks, etc., supplies that you need to clean and maintain your space, and all those ubiquitous items like scissors and staplers. One way we could think about this is in terms of Maslow's triangle here. So these are the types of things that are at the base of the triangle. They satisfy our physiological or our safety needs. And then we start to move up to items that are more towards the peak of our triangle. So that is one big category. Moving on to our second one is decorative items. Things that have a sense of beauty or invoke a certain aesthetic would include seasonal items, any holiday things that you have. Stuff on your wall is probably in this category, statues, vases, knickknacks, etc. But it's important to note these categories are not mutually exclusive. For example, you could have a cookie jar, and that would serve both a storage function, and it could also be a collector's item. So that would put it right in that area of our Venn diagram. Number 3, sentimental items. These evoke a certain sense of belonging. They often have memories associated with them, and they can even be tied up with our identities. So pictures, old clothes, awards, stuff you inherit. This for me is a big thing because as you'll see over the garage, I have all kinds of things that I inherited that I need to sort through. Fourth category is play. This is a huge, expansive category right now, and I do expect this will iterate into some kind of subclassification. But for right now, it's everything that has to do with your fun and hobbies and games. So for example, if reading were one of your hobbies, your books would actually fall into this category. And not to complain, but I'm really bummed out because the local churches and libraries have already called off their book sales this summer. And I always I look forward to those. The idea of stuffing a bunch of books in a bag for $5 is just like unbelievably ecstatic for me. So anyway, one area that I have been blessed though is moving on to category number 5. That includes all the things that are related to our work. So being a teacher, I've been fortunate enough that I can get up in the morning and teach math right outside and listen to the birds. But this category is very broad. So for example, if you are a landscaper, it's going to look very different than if you're a mechanic or if you're a professor. The types of things that you have in this category are very personal to the nature of the work that you do. Now we're going to move on to the things that are even more personal. So they depend on your life situation. For example, if you have children, you are going to have a whole bunch of things, especially depending on their age. And then as they get older, you will inevitably have things that your kids no longer want. And that's a really tough category for me because so many of those items are sentimental. And even if they don't want them anymore, I have such, fond memories of them that I'm reluctant to part with them. Second category there is going to be stuff if you have pets. So, if you have pets, that they come with all kinds of accessories to keep them healthy and happy. So that's another category that you may or may not have in your life. Third, if you have a lawn or a garden to maintain, that's a lot of work, and you have to have certain tools and nutrients and whatnot depending on where you live. So that's a third category of items that you may or may not have depending on your situation. I got to thinking about all of this and decided I would use a 4-quadrant system to sort through the different types of things. So for example here, if we take one of our categories, I'm going to focus on sentimental for this example. And we can put that on our y-axis here. So up here, you would have things that have a high sentimental value. And down here, you would have things that have a low sentimental value. Now for our x-axis, you would have items that have value or they're expensive. And over on the other end here, we have things that don't have much monetary value. And if we go through, in quadrant 1, we have items that are expensive, they have monetary value, and they have high sentimental value. So it seems pretty evident that you should keep those items. Moving on to quadrant 2, you have things that are important to you from a sentimental viewpoint, but don't have a lot of monetary value. They're not worth much. I think if you have the space, you should still keep those and pass them down to your kids maybe, or who knows, but having them around, if you have the space, doesn't seem like it's too dangerous for your psyche. Next here, we have items that have low monetary value and low sentimental value. You don't really care about them. So the thing to do with these items, I think, is ideally if you can upcycle them into something that has a different purpose, you can donate them, or you can, worst case scenario, throw them out, especially if they're broken in a way where they no longer have any other potential uses. And finally, quadrant 4, you have things that have high monetary value. They're worth something, but they don't mean much to you from a sentimental viewpoint. So those are items you should probably sell. Why not free up the cash and do something else with it, right? And you can apply this 4-quadrant system to the different categories with different characteristics that you value. So I'm working on that right now, but it is still something that I'm trying to inform through my own experience. And here we are back over the garage to put my taxonomy to the test. I'm going to go one item at a time here and start off with these 2 cranes because they have, on my 4-quadrant system, low sentimental value. They don't mean an awful lot to me, and I would say they also have very low resale value. Sotheby's is probably not going to want to put them in any upcoming auctions. I started to paint one of them. This was, probably a year or so ago. I think I was trying to waterproof it because I wanted to put it outside in the garden. And then, if you'll notice here, there's holes down near their feet. So this is another problem too that Clutter sometimes lends itself to, is I do not have whatever original stakes that are meant to go with these 2 cranes to get them to secure themselves into the ground. Because obviously, if I put them outside like this, they're going to topple over in the wind. Because these fall in that quadrant 3, the zone where they have, low sentimental value and low monetary value, I'm going to try and think of a way to repurpose them. or maybe put one in the garden or do something else with the other one. So I'm going to go think about that for a minute and let you know what we came up with. One victory, small victory, is that we have had a heck of a time trying to get the toilet paper thing to stay on the wall because it's just kind of a cheap and chintzy one. So we have repurposed, put the light on here, there we go, that's better. We have repurposed this crane into a toilet paper holder. And the second one, I'm gonna go outside for this one, is a work in progress, but I have hope. And I think that it has generally brought my attention to the fact that I need to spend a little bit more time on the outside decor. So right now, the other crane is living right here, and I'm going to get some rocks to secure it because otherwise it will literally break its neck if there's a good strong wind.
Well, small victories. 2 items down, only a few thousand more to go. Thanks for joining me for episode 3. In episode 4, we're going to continue to refine my taxonomy and think about ways that we can be kind and compassionate to ourselves and our stuff. And hopefully by then, you'll be able to see the summer tree behind me, and we'll go from there. Just take it a little bit at a time. Have a great day, and please like and subscribe. Thank you.